Hi and welcome to Church of Aliens. Hope you're all doing well today. I'm sure most of you know uh, the name of Jim Semivan by now, if you're in this sort of bubble or sphere of UFOs and paranormal and TTS and Tom DeLonge and all these guys. You have heard Jim Semivan's name run around, and he's been doing some quite interesting interviews lately. He did a few with Calling All Beings. That was really cool. There was another one, I think the UAP Studies podcast. That was quite good. Still my favorite, if you haven't heard by now, the interview with aliens and artists. That was probably the best one. He explains in a lot more depth than these other podcasts his experience with the beings in his room and what exactly happened, the effects of certain things being put on his wife's face. And then they were extracted, and it gets very weird. But he has mentioned before some really interesting stories, like living in a sense like a typical haunted house. In a sense, he said that before he bought it, it was a colonial house, and then the ground was actually a holy ground by the Indians. It was a burial mound. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I suppose it does, but he tells some pretty wild stories of her wife getting her hair combed by some sort of ghosts, slippers just being held in the air, footsteps running around the house, toilets flushing. I mean, that's just 80s horror movie for me. I don't know how he could have stayed in that house, to be honest. If someone had those types of experiences, I would have been gone. But he stayed there, and the way he talks about it is quite like it wasn't a big deal. Like it was just something there, and it wasn't scary or dangerous, from what I understood. But what I really wanted to kind of focus on more is his explanation and how he really talks about angels or what he mainly says the jinn or demons. So he's been saying several times that he thinks it's more in the lines of the jinn, which really come out of the Islamic mysticism. And they're, in a sense, that you could say they're like demons in a sense that they are mischievous. They want to do tricks on people, but really to think that there are like demons, like trying to get into your body and possess you and then kill you. I don't think they're that exactly, even though he has said, be very careful with letting things into your body, doing seances. He always says to have a guide, to have your mind anchored in reality. And that's why he usually doesn't do it at all. He says that he's quite a big scaredy cat, which is funny to hear since he works in the CIA. I mean, I don't know. You have to be pretty courageous to work in intelligence and defense. But yeah, he was talking about how even his experience, he saw a hooded figure like a Dementor in Harry Potter, but cut in half. So just up to the shoulders or a bit more. And he went to the bathroom, and apparently when he came back to the bathroom, he saw this hooded figure with no face, and it was like still staring at the bathroom that he just came from. And then he looked at him, and this was for a few seconds, but he said he wasn't afraid. he was just staring at it. But if you want to have a more detailed and a better understanding of this, please watch the Aliens and Artists episode with him. It's I think 2 parts. It's probably the best interview to hear about this specific experience with his wife. But in one of the podcasts, he does say that these were like, in a sense, messengers. And if you take it from the Bible, whenever somebody in the Bible encountered these angels, there was always a message, something God said that they wanted to pass on to the person, or even just help. It wasn't just there, just appearing, from what I know. And it's funny how Jim Semivan kept saying that these were like a messenger, like the typical messenger. But I didn't really see any message in his experience. Even he says that it wasn't bad or good. It was just nothing. It was just like, meh. Like he had an experience, and that was it. There was no real message in this. Which I would like to think that these beings that would know that we usually don't see them like this, and they would want to say something if we were able to see them. But it seems like no. I sometimes tend to think they themselves are the message, even though there isn't some verbal communication or telepathic communication, that they themselves are a message. But even then, it gets a bit grey, like what is the message? You have to figure it out. That can be tricky. But I was fascinated where in the Bible there's so many times of messengers, but there's always a message to find in the encounter when you read the Bible, or some sort of help. Like in the New Testament, they break out of a disciple out of jail. They help with understanding a certain prophecy or certain calamity that's happened to them, helping them on a way out of a town, out of danger. But it seems like if you understand these beings as messengers, sometimes then they're not really sitting down with you, having a cup of coffee and explaining the message. It can get very grey. In a sense, you have to, I tend to think, in a sense, the word is initiated, or you have to have a guide to help you through this knowledge. Because if not, it becomes very, it's like a void. There is nothing there, it's just blackness. You just have some experience, but there isn't really the tools to really interpret anything of what you're seeing, hearing. So in a sense, I do understand it how even in Freemasonry or even in Catholic Mass, like Latin Mass, you need to know what is going on to help you understand the symbolism, the experience, what is being said in a different language, what the colors, the placements, the smells. It all means something. But you have to be initiated. You have to go through a process or be guided through that. You don't just rock up and just expect to understand things and to gain knowledge. Another thing that was quite interesting was about what I was thinking was through astral projection. Even this is something that Tom DeLonge in his books, Secret Machines, puts in quite a lot in the sense. I don't know if you've read them, but the soldiers or the program that it has these UFO technology, the people who were able to pilot them are able to gain, in a sense, Jedi-like powers, psychic abilities, and one of the bad guys uses his, one of the good guys as well, but they all use sort of astral projection, and they spy and infiltrate buildings using an astral projection of themselves. And I thought this was a crazy idea. Like, to imagine that if that is true, if that was something that Jim Semivan read from his book and decided to want to interrogate him or interview him on that, some agencies are using these type of technologies to gain access to buildings or to people, to their minds, or to even to scare people. I mean, can you just imagine being able to just at a will just astral project into somebody's bedroom? It's very persuasive. You could make up whatever you want, and they could believe it. So it's a very powerful tool. So I was very fascinated that he does talk a little bit about that. He quoted some authors that are very, I would say, in the sense, new age or new thought. That are into these types of ideas, and also living in several lives, parallel universes or many universes. And I'm not exactly sure if really astral projection is just creating or having a copy of the light body that you have and walking around in it, or it's your true self walking around in the world, or if it's a copy of yourself from a different universe. It's pretty wild, but it's a very interesting sort of topic to get into. I don't know too much about it, but I'm sort of really digging my head into some interesting books lately. I've been reading, what is it? The Daemonic Reality by Patrick Harper. It's quite a rare book. I haven't really been seen it in many bookshops, but I got it on Amazon, and it kind of talks like that. There's this sort of being or several beings that are with you, that in a sense could help you or may not, and that you can become in contact with them. They have a name, and they're able to help you in your life. I'm just wondering if that has anything to do with astral projection, where it could be even people from different dimensions projecting themselves onto this one, or that's actually the subjective reality of something. But anyways, I find these topics very fascinating. I hope you enjoyed this episode about Jim Samivan and astral projection, and I hope you catch you on the next one.